other thing I wanted to say, I realized I hadn't mentioned, some people usually ask about the length of a blog, how many words and blah, blah. Typically people, like 500 to 750. I'm kind of long-winded, and I'm working on that. So I tend to go a little over that, but 500, 600 words is fabulous. And then some people I know are writing like really short, like 350 words, and that's great if you can really convey what you want to say in that few words. But when it starts going past like 750, it's usually too much for the blog reader. Okay. Any other questions? And this can be, it doesn't have to be specifically with what with what I covered in the presentation. It can fall out of that scope too. Anything about blogging, event, voice.
Hi, this is Sarah again. I have another question.
Yes, Sarah.
It's not so much nonprofit related, but a little more personal. I guess I'm just wondering, as someone who reads lots of blogs, but who also feels like my life is totally oversaturated with online things, so email and Facebook and being on the computer at work and getting a million links every day, I'm wondering what tools you use to distinguish your blog and sort of continue to make it relevant, I guess, or how you sort of promote it. I know you've covered that a little bit, but on a more personal level, what tools can you use to sort of make sure that your blog stands out, I suppose?
Yeah, super question, and I will. First, I'll answer on a more personal level, and then I will skip to that final slide that I had about promoting your blog. It's a little extension of the question you asked, but I really think it comes down to being true to, and I know this will sound a little cliche, being true to yourself, but it's so true. Being really grounded in what you care about and writing about it in a way that is conveying your passion for the issue, your concern about the issue, your care about the issue, the topic, the people, stories you might be sharing, because you might be sharing other people's stories in your blog. And, I don't know, anything much more than that, than just being so, each time kind of you write a blog, really checking in with yourself and saying, is this like really true to how I feel in my belly, in my gut, in my, is this where, did I use words, or did I tell the things I wanted to tell that I really care about? To make it, stand out in any other way, it kind of just has to stand out as you. It's actually you who, it's that the person, the blogger, needs to stand out, and by that you're standing out in a way. It's almost the opposite of what you would think. Like people think, come out and be big, and so yes, it is that, but it's like you have to go deep inside to contact the kind of the true bigness of you, and then through that, as you write, that the bigness will come out. I hope that makes sense. Is that making sense to you, or is it?
Yeah, definitely. I guess you were saying to keep it personal.
Yeah, definitely to keep it personal. And then I just flipped ahead here to how to promote your blog. In this case, there are some basic things, just in looking at where are the specific people that you think will be interested in your blog. Where are they? You might have, some of you might have a mailing list. I'm not sure, what your jobs are and this and that. Some of you might have a mailing list, so your audience, a lot of them are there, and you're adding new people. The other thing is, well, let me check with you, Sarah. Is your blog specifically on strong women, strong girls?
Well, I have yet to actually be involved in blogs myself, but it's always something that as a casual writer I've been interested in, but I also just feel as though it's hard to find something unique to say that hasn't already been covered, 100 times from 100 different angles.
Oh, okay. So let me address that. You're right. I mean, things have been covered 100 different times, 100 different angles, but, they've never been covered by you if you've never covered it. So that I so believe that. I mean, when you look at how many, for example, books there are out in the world, and so many books that are covering the same topics, but there are readers for all of them. And then the thing is like your voice will connect with some people that other people's voices won't. And so there is an audience for your voice, and I believe that so strongly. So I really want to encourage that if there are issues that you care about and you have something to say about them, then you should be blogging about them. And it might not start out that you have like a huge audience, because that's not the way things start. Things build. But the point is, if you feel strongly about something, and I will say this, when you start blogging, you don't have to feel like you have to have like, I only write about this, and so I must only write, like that perfect branding. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, really, blogging is about finding your voice along the way, and the people who are choosing to blog, it's because they feel they have something to say, and it's important, and it is important, and there are others who want to hear it, and that is just so true. Start small, I guess, is the idea. One blog that feels most true to you, and you don't have to cover everything in the world in it. Just like keep it simple, and then see how it feels after that. It tends to, like, once you do one, it tends to grow, because you realize, whoa, my voice does matter. It's affecting these people, and it's making a difference in their life in some way, in some positive way.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Again, it can be, outside of what I covered in the presentation here.
This is Rachel. I have a quick question for you. Thank you so much for your time. Just curious, what is the most interesting or difficult or compelling blog you feel like you've written?
Good, very good question. I think the best blog, I think the most exciting one, and the most, also because it was the most risky for me to write, was one I wrote for the Huffington Post, which was called U.S. Women Speak Out About the U.S. birthing system. And it was about what's going on in hospitals today for pregnant women, and I don't know if any of you ever saw the documentary, The Business of Being Born, but it's really about the way hospitals have turned into, hardcore businesses, as whatever they've needed to for the ways, but what that's done in disempowering women in the birth process. And the piece is really advocating for more education and awareness about home births, and for women who do have that as an option if they're going through a healthy pregnancy, that they would consider that, and for the expansion of I was advocating for more midwife care, more health coverage for midwife care. And this is an area, I haven't been pregnant, I haven't had a child, but it's a direction I'm heading toward. And so the issue is very important to me as I'm looking into all of this and making choices for which direction I want to go, and hearing some really hard stories from some women who did have rough not rough experience, but not empowering experiences in the hospitals. And I was hearing just one story after the other, and it just, as a woman, just felt so strongly about needing more women to know about the possibility of home birth. So that was the one for me. I would say it stands out right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so I think we've got just a couple minutes left. And Patricia, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Actually, I had one question for you. I know that a lot of our bloggers, we have different readers that comment on their blogs, and what do you think is the best etiquette for responding to comments on your blog?
What was it? I heard. Say the question again. What was the best for responding to comments? I missed a word there.
I don't know if you have any tips for commenting on comments that are made on your blog. So
got it.
And
again, it kind of goes back to the same thing, being personal, acknowledging them first off for what they're saying. I mean, really hearing them in their comments, and just like you would a friend, just acknowledging that you've heard them, and maybe they've presented a new idea. Some commenters are going to be agreeing with you, and some commenters might have another angle that that you didn't consider yet. So you could honor that when you respond to them. Others might disagree, and if it feels like an intelligent, disagreement and someone you want to engage with, then you can in that way. If someone's writing a comment that's really not, respectful, or that you have no obligation, let's just say, to respond. I'm just saying in terms of HuffPost, we get so many comments and they can really run the gamut. But I imagine on Strong Women, Strong Girls, you're not getting, just some kind of off comments. I'm not sure, though. I haven't read through all the comments. I would just be personal and really let the reader know you've heard them. And you could even ask them a question back. They might have said something you want to know a little more about, and you could ask a question back to them, and then they might want to continue that dialogue on the blog there, and it could create conversation with other commenters. So those are a few of the tips.
Thank you for answering that. Does anyone else have additional questions for Tabby? Well, Tabby, we, on behalf of Strong Women, Strong Girls and the Strong Blogging Corps, we want to thank you again for taking your time to speak with us. We really enjoyed learning from your experience.
You're so welcome. Yeah, I hope this is helpful for you, and keep going for it. I've really enjoyed reading the blogs, and I will look forward to reading more and see, how this presentation may affect your future writing.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and everyone have a great day.